Greetings, peace, love, and light to my peoples. I'm right back at it with another articulate, thoughtful, in-depth communication and analysis, you know what I'm saying? Dealing with the everyday reality of the day-to-day living regarding things that we going through. In addition to maybe things you not happen to even think about or thought about, you know what I'm saying, that will give you in terms of like me speaking on things you don't know about, it will expose your mind to that particular perspective to where your mind will be exposed to them. So this is part 2 of winning power. Winning power, y'all. You know what I'm saying? It's what we have to become accustomed to. Winning, because certain forces of power, right, have orchestrated situations for many people to be at the receiving end of losing. Losing how? Losing as a result, right, of not knowing certain things spiritually, economically, and naturally, even socially. That's why regarding certain multi-dimensional angles of social engineering, right? They want to crystallize into a certain reality that pretty much is in conformity with the particular Latin words on the dollar bill: Novus Ordo Seclorum, or for instance, right, why has there been so much secret about our black history? Yet when we put certain people on blast, right, but they part into the cover-ups of our monumental and colossal accomplishments that made such an impact on the planet, to the point where these accomplishments will permanently be accomplishments where people base their knowledge premise on. But yet, certain contemporary forces, right, due to the sheeple ignorance, the surplanters, certain ones that have took the place of other people who have made certain great accomplishments. The certain people I'm referring to is us, black people, being the mothers and fathers of civilization, right? Yet experience what we, like for instance, we experience today, right, with these particular surplanters, certain ones that put themselves in the place of others, and the other certain ones who put themselves in the place of the great people, in particular certain European nations and European leaderships that has roots with the Christian world, right? Connected with the Roman Catholic Church, and their splinter groups or associated partnerships or extended occult associations that represent the doctrines of them particular type of social orders of the human family. Right? Now, man, when I was speaking on this being part 2 of winning power, we in the era of time, right, where in this political climate right now, dealing with this Trump administration, right, we have this situation that we is dealing with where we gotta really know how to properly respond to certain political measures that it appears political opponents of ours is doing. Whether, say for instance, like the color of our skin and the content of our character, right? We represent wholesome cultural values that is universally accepted by people of good taste and good quality, right? But yet you have certain manipulators who throw certain things out there to tarnish the image of good people that's non-white. Now, man, this isn't about like a color thing. This is about right and wrong, good and evil, benevolent, malevolent, and what's agreeable and disagreeable. Now, regarding the civil rights movement, right, we're gonna get straight to it and dig deep into the psyche of these deceivers that's full of all kind of linguistic twistedness to contort your mind out of shape with the true purposes, right, of us really growing together as a nation, right, to where somebody wants to perpetuate division. Now watch this. Now I'm going back into certain information that's provided through the Wikipedia here, right? And regarding history of the civil rights movement, that is in alignment with our liberation theologies and liberation ideology, right? For us to put ourselves in a position of advantages to where we is as a people experiencing real equity and fairness in our day-to-day dealings in all areas of people activity. Now man, this reads here, right? This article is about, hold on, wait a minute, hold on. We're gonna get into it. Okay. Now, for instance, right? We're gonna get into it. Just be patient. We're gonna get into it. Now, this is about the disenfranchisement after Reconstruction, the Reconstruction era, right? Now, in addition to that, the Jim Crow laws and civil rights movements of 1865. Hold on. Look, the civil rights movements of 1865 to 1869 and civil rights movement of 1896 to 1954. After the disputed election of 1876, which resulted in the end of Reconstruction and the withdrawal of federal troops, whites in the South regained political control of the region's state legislature. Now think about our state legislatures right now, and who in political control of them right now regarding the state's legislator and lawmakers. That to whose advantage and to whose disadvantage? Or is they doing it for certain groups? Or is they doing it for the sake of all of us, the American people? Let's be clear. Who the American people constitute? Is it regarding the human family here in America? Or is it regarding sinister plots of a certain few who want to organize power for themselves exclusively at the expense and cost of other non-white people? See this transmission of how we see the world and in the ways of the color of black and white? Because if you notice, that's how the current administration is seeing the world, through the lenses of black and white. So why should they feel threatened by the progressiveness of our political gains when we are the American people? Why do a certain family of America have so many family feuds? Is this country going to ever crystallize into a united nation? Or is that wishful thinking? Or is individuals participating in an experiment that have went wrong? So if this is an experiment that have went wrong, who are the participants in the experiment that have went wrong, who is continuing to go down a wrong road that is not going to end up in the right places? Common sense. But they say common sense ain't common in a lot of ways these days. So, by me being responsible for my own soul salvation, I am determined to keep my mind on the right track of the divine aim and purpose of the Most High, who's supposed to also have a hand in the guidance of this nation. But the individuals who professing to be the leaders through this current administration, right? How is they glorifying the Most High in the perspective to where the people are satisfied? It's a lot of dissatisfaction going on amongst us here domestically in the United States, where you have individuals talking about where they take oaths of office to represent and uphold the Constitution, right? Domestically, and also against how that saying go? Foreign and domestic enemies. So it appears like it's a lot of domestic conflicts going on amongst us at this time right now. Which really, hold on. Like I was saying, right? It appears there's a lot of domestic conflicts going on with the intelligence communities in our nation. Mind you, right? You have this gentleman by the name of William Cooper, right? Who wrote the book, Behold the Pale Horse. Remember the term in the Bible when it was talking about behold the pale horse, right? For its rider is death, and hell followed right behind it wherever it went. Now, don't it appears that fit the description of white supremacy being a reflection of that pale horse, to where hell followed it wherever it went. Look at the colonialism and imperialism that was caused through certain inquisitions and papal bulls and invasions of lands on multiple continents all over the world. You know what I'm saying? With these acts of war, to the point where certain damages have been done, to the point where people have been ill-affected by those particular crimes, by these particular criminal perpetrators. You know what I'm saying? Who happen to have the color of skin of being classified as white. You know what I'm saying? If criminals, no matter what skin complexion they have, commit criminal acts, then those are criminal acts that those criminals have committed with their hands. So, to not deal with fantasies and unrealities, you know what I'm saying, that certain forces want to relegate our mind to, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to truth. Oh, don't talk about truth, you know what I'm saying, because you can't handle the truth, or she can't handle the truth, or they can't handle the truth. Look, the truth is something not to be demonized like something is wrong with it. See, if we live in a life of fantasies, you know what I'm saying, while other people is living a life of reality and they pursuits of power, don't you know your life of fantasies disconnect you from the real ruling realms of power, which is a strategy to keep you disempowered and weak. Now, if you engage in fantasies, thinking those fantasies are real life, right? Where real life is different from them fantasies, and you know they're different from them fantasies, but yet you are living into a fantasy, mental manifestation from your own fantasy creations into a world that will crush them fantasies. Because the world, other than them fantasies, is a real world that don't have nothing to do with your fantasy illusions, which has no kind of effect on, for instance, in order to get political representation in political office, right? Do we fantasize to get representation up in the political offices? Or do we take concrete action in reality through certain processes to get people to represent our interests in the political process through conscious agreements with the people who are willing participants to pull these particular realities off to where we doing the real physical work to get goals accomplished regarding the issue of power? Or are we engaging in fantasies to where life passing you by, right, in a way to where your mind is being played with on a daily basis, rendering you an ineffective individual who is not having a real world effect on your environment, that's shaping the environment in a way where the environment is in tune with these real histories that I'm finna speak about, regarding, like, for instance, how we in reality is dealing with overcoming all kind of oppression. But yet you have people engaging in alternative activities to escape the realities of the effects of the oppression, instead of overthrowing the oppression out the mind and in the environment to where we are living free. And free indeed is how we supposed to live. But there are psychological prisons still. People have to get liberated from and set free from a knowledge base that's only going to become a reality through embracing the truth. Now let's go in. Disenfranchisement after Reconstruction, right? After the disputed election of 1876, which resulted in the end of Reconstruction and the withdrawal of federal troops, whites in the South regained political control of the regions of state legislature. Now, when I was talking about us getting political control of the state legislature, we have forces in place that don't want us to have that kind of positioning in the legislature, right? But dealing with the real equity that benefit us all, we got to get that kind of positioning. They continue to intimidate, right? They continue to intimidate and violently attack blacks before and during elections to suppress their voting. Now look, our voting powers is important. This upcoming, what they call it, the midterms of this upcoming voting process, all black people in the United States got to get out and vote for people that represent our interests, and as a unified voting bloc, where we is informed of the importance of these particular strategies for political power. Now, for instance, right, now, during certain eras of time back then, they was talking about certain people intimidated and violently attacked blacks. Imagine if certain forces out here right now regarding the voting climate show themselves being out here trying to intimidate us to not vote or attack us in ways to discourage us from voting. That won't be that won't turn out good at all. See, we living in a different climate now where we supposed to be up in knowledge to the point where we know how to maneuver in ways around the bigotry of these bigots, you know what I'm saying, that is out here promoting the bigotry to try to maintain a certain double standard in society and status quo for them to maintain power in the state legislature that benefit them and not the rest of the American people, to where we got to experience pain and suffering, lack and loss and dissatisfaction in a hostile environment that's riddled with crime and joblessness, unemployment, underemployment. You know what I'm saying? And violence. You know what I'm saying? And other ills of society. You know what I'm saying? That can get real graphic, you know what I'm saying? But you get the idea where I'm going with that, you know what I'm saying? So these are the reasons why we take action to transform our political situation here in the United States, where we have access to the best in civilized society. Now, for instance, this go on to read, right? They continue to intimidate and violently attack blacks before, during the elections to suppress their voting. We got to get out and vote. Ain't nobody stopping us from voting the right way with proper representation, right? That may come in the form of certain democratic officials that is in tune with the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, the affirmative action, the civil rights, the Fair Housing Act rights. What else? Right? The Civil Rights Acts. And the economic opportunities that can be created from proper representation of us in seats of power regarding the political control in regions of state legislature. That these particular readings help us become aware of certain terminologies that we can use that'll be relevant and where they'll be applicable to how we can come up with remedies for us to get certain political control in our life as adults, you know what I'm saying, who also have our children in mind, for them to have a future where they is in sync with the political controls through being properly educated while they young and not distracted by the cartoons of society. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people out here that's adults, but they cartoon characters. And certain social scientists see that in people. They know a lot of people's minds out here ain't wrapped too tight, and they lack understanding about political sciences because they know people been distracted and conditioned to have certain appetites for certain prefabricated societal engineered interests to serve as social controls to ensure as an insurance policy that a lot of the robotic people in society will specifically act that way. Like an uninformed robot who was programmed to function a certain way that will not have any kind of opposition to them securing ruling political power, which is a strategy. That's why it's all about the mind wars. Psychological warfare, spiritual warfare. So take this for instance, right? This goes on to read. Like I was saying, they continue to intimidate and violently attack blacks before and during elections to suppress their voting. But the last African Americans were elected to Congress from the South before disenfranchisement of blacks by states throughout the region, as described below. From 1890 to 1908, Southern states passed new constitutions and laws to disenfranchise African Americans and many poor whites by creating barriers to voting registration. Y'all get out there, get registered, and actively vote. Don't participate in what they call voting the couch. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, our votes don't matter. What we gonna participate in voting for? That ain't gonna change nothing. That is a psychological strategy and a political strategy to make you unimportant. You know what I'm saying? That right there disqualifies you out of the arena of political participation right there. When you have the right and power through the Voting Rights Act to participate in the political process for your own best benefit in this battle of political warfare. That's what it actually is. You might as well accept the truth that this is political warfare we're dealing with. And certain political players are funded by certain corporations and people behind them where they lobby for certain representation, these corporations, to do their wishes for the vision of their companies or whatever. So who got the money to fund our political representations? Oh, we got Black Power corporations, you know what I'm saying, that is with funding successful political representation figures for us, where we get control of when we get political Trump control of regions of the state legislature ourselves. That's why you have so many smear campaigns, right? To try to discredit the power of the black vote to help transform these seats of power right now. Now, for instance, the Trump administration is going at work, you know what I'm saying, for them to try to rearrange or make certain arrangements for their compatriots, right? To all be on the same page to benefit from whatever agendas that they is trying to make a reality right now with all of the deals that they making with the people that they making the deals with. Now, mind you, this goes on to read, right? Now you have, we have, for instance, from 1890 to 1908, Southern states passed new constitutions and laws to disenfranchise African Americans. Now they put laws in place to block us, right, from being enfranchised to what we can economically get riches. You know what I'm saying? Legally. But they legally made discriminatory laws, right? They legally made discriminatory laws to interfere with our progress, like haters do. Like, for instance, in layman's terms, like, say for instance, like in your day-to-day living, how people hate on you, whether you at work or somewhere. It could be anywhere. You going out shopping or you just doing something out in the public, and you you an individual, like you got star qualities about yourself or something, right? And just for whatever reason, you got people who just hate on you because of the good quality person that you are, or based on the positive traits that you exhibit. Just being yourself. You know what I'm saying? With a particular light that irritate the demons in others. You know what I'm saying? It's unbelievable. But this goes on to read, right? That we are a beautiful people who accomplish greatness. We full of great accomplishments for the record. But due to the critical race theory that the Trump administration, Donald Trump himself, want to try to get rid of, right? What is people afraid of? What is people want? You know what I'm saying? What you want to hide that up under the rug for, when we can go toe to toe with the knowledge that y'all have? You know what I'm saying? With the truth, we can go toe to toe with y'all with this factual information about the truth and reality of our sojourn here in the wilderness of North America, here in the United States, dealing with overcoming racism to the point where, like here in Detroit, like we in the North America, right? To where it was certain, what they say, like crown jewel accomplishments of the civil rights movement, where we won certain civil rights games, to where up here was actually like living was actually better for us in comparison to certain areas in the South at that particular time, during them segregation eras or what have you. I don't know everything, but I'm just trying to make sense of what's going on, where I will intentionally get to the root reality of what we're talking about here. You know what I'm saying? Because the truth matter. And this research here is rooted in the intention to bring correct information. Now, for instance, this goes on to say, right? Let's go there again. From 1890 to 1908, Southern states passed new constitutions and laws to disenfranchise African Americans and poor whites by creating barriers to voter registration. Voting rolls were dramatically reduced as blacks and poor whites were forced out of the electoral politics. So, for instance, we have white allies that white Americans consider the poor whites, who say, for instance, will support us in our efforts regarding our struggle. You know what I'm saying? The poor whites from grassroots level organizations that support where we coming from regarding our grievances against injustice, where the poor whites get treated with injustice as well by their own people. So, for instance, right, regarding the voting rolls were dramatically reduced as blacks and poor whites were forced out of the electoral politics, which is what they would love to have happen now. For us to be pushed out of the electoral politics. This is why they're attacking the Voting Rights Act, and where they trying to discourage as many poor whites and blacks to just give up on voting. They got something called redistricting right now in certain districts of voting, to where you got certain people who eligible to vote, right? I don't know, they doing some kind of switcheroo to where the redistricting is like manipulating the voter numbers. A lot of people, I think, as a result of all of this inflammatory stuff that Trump is doing with his MAGA movement, is rubbing so many people the wrong way, when so many people who even voted for him that he backstabbed is so disappointed with him right now, to the point where these next elections that's coming up, people was going to vote against him. I think he will lose by landslide whoever we would vote to be president this next upcoming election, right? Presidential election, right? We gonna make sure somebody that represent our interests, that is not of the Christian far white, the Christian white nationalist, far right GOP, Republican racist party. You know what I'm saying? And it's like damage control. People, you know what I'm saying, is responding in a way, right? Well, it's like we doing damage control. It's like damage control. You know what I'm saying? Gotta stop the damages that's being caused by these reckless figures, you know what I'm saying, who was doing so much lying to us, to the point where we got to take matters into our own hands to become educated and informed about these political processes in a way where we seeing things clearly out here, instead of our minds being in a fog where they gonna do what they gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Like, our voice don't matter. That's how they always want you to think. Like, you just little people who voices don't matter. Last time I checked, nobody is above the law, right? Last time I checked, nobody is above the law, right? That's why the Most High is the best of planners, right? To the point where through all of this deception that's happening on the planet, right? You think the Most High ain't looking at this? Even the devil is running rampant. The real all-I-seen creator seeing all of this. And the Most High's people is seeing all of this. So, regarding the evil one's minions out here wreaking havoc, doing their job of evil, making evil bear seeming, right? But in all actuality, the evil is wrongdoing. Or a mind is a terrible thing to waste when you don't know how to see things how it's supposed to see. Because you would get caught up in what's called the devil's web. That get weaved for those who can't see. Beware of your lower self. Don't let your lower self get you in trouble. To hell with the lower self traits that Satan know how to manipulate, right? To get people who don't do certain spiritual work on themselves when they can be victorious over the technology of the devil. They say God works in mysterious ways. The devil works in mysterious ways too, to get you caught up. Like when they say, oh, the devil know what you like. Now, how do this evil entity, Lucifer, Satan, that goes by many names, this particular snakish, demonic character, right? How do this particular spirit entity or spirit force know just what I like and present it to me in a way where I fall for what's presented to me, only to destroy me? You know what I'm saying? Take what the Most High meant for good and turn around and make it for evil. Pervert what I love, or pervert what you love. Twist it, turn around, and fucking destroy it. So you won't get the pleasure out of what was intended to bring you happiness, joy, and pleasure. You know why? Because they want to steal your fucking joy. These miserable fucks. They want to steal your joy. They want to steal your happiness. Because they are miserable, turmoil, inverted maniacs. You know what I'm saying? Who don't think highly enough of themselves to experience the pleasures the Most High give us in life through our higher self, the Godhead. You know what I'm saying? So, for instance, we have out here certain invaders who love to invade the better aspects of your mental constitution, but due to many of y'all not having a psychic self-defense, right, to defy through identifying the tricknology or tricks that these evil forces use to try to penetrate and get next to you. You know what I'm saying? Or try to crack certain atoms of your auric field so they can participate in a ritual to see if they can walk in or crawl in. You got these spirit forces called walk-ins or crawl-ins, right? That get into people and possess them with a certain influence that's coming from a weird place. You know what I'm saying? That's associated with twisted animalistic traits that where the end results of those particular spirit forces is to make you look stupid, to make fun of you, to get you to crash out, to get you to have a bad reputation, to get you to have some kind of negative paperwork on your name, to get you in some kind of trouble where you could be under some kind of state supervision. You know what I'm saying? Where you no longer become your own legal guardian. Where you have foster people, you know what I'm saying, who have certain slavery chains on you, you know what I'm saying, in the form of probation, parole. As an adult, you're not free to be free from those slavery bonds that those institutions or institutional associations entrap you in for long durations of your life, robbing you of precious time of you being a free man and a free woman out here in your right mind, free from the chains of slavery and the clutches of satanic movements or institutions. You know what I'm saying? That's a place to suck your energies dry, to have you end up being an individual that they call a low-lander. You know what I'm saying? An individual of such a low vibration to where you become foods for the real wicked reptilian gods, who are certain gods beside God. See, this finna now go deeper into the real wiles of Satan. You know what I'm saying? So, having an understanding of these particular wicked schemes of these six ether forces are to be eradicated from our lives. That's why the term, don't give way to the devil. real. Now watch how on a geopolitical and geological level, right? How the octopus tentacles of this beast, you know what I'm saying, try to influence people who have the will to resist this beast, right? Certain ways to get you caught up, to become a fallen one who will ultimately end up being someone that they can call themselves stealing, or like certain foolish individuals end up selling their souls for nothing in the end. For what is it? For what is it, right? For what is it that a person gained the world and end up losing a soul? Look, I got one of my songs I made, right? I say, my soul so beautiful. What a beautiful soul. I would never sell my soul. My soul so beautiful. What a beautiful soul. You know what I'm saying? Our soul has such value. Look, nothing can be compared to it, because our soul is connected to the soul of the Creator. Now, what does this have to do with the political process? Everything. Now watch this. Now, the voting rolls were dramatically reduced as blacks and poor whites were forced out of the electoral politics. After the landmark Supreme Court case of Smith versus Allwright in 1944, which prohibited white primaries, progress was made in increasing black political participation in the Rim South and Acadiana, although almost entirely in urban areas and in few rural localities where most blacks work outside plantations. The status quo ante of excluding African Americans from the political system lasted in the remainder of the South. So think about this, right? See, like these voting times coming up now, to try to exclude us from the process, certain forces would love that. We can't allow that. Everybody who hear this transmission, share the idea with your family and friends to get out and vote, so us as a people can get representation in political offices to represent us as a people. You know what I'm saying? And help advance for us to get real funding for the DEI programs and etc., things of that particular nature, because they are helpful for us. You know what I'm saying? Now, for instance, right, the status quo, right, ante of excluding African Americans from the political system lasted in the remainder of the South, especially North Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, until the national civil rights legislation was passed in the mid-1960s. National civil rights legislation is important, right? Which was passed in the mid-60s to provide federal enforcement of constitutional voting rights For more than 60 years, blacks in the South were essentially excluded from politics, unable to elect anyone to represent their interests in Congress or local government, right? Now here in Detroit, we got a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, who is of our race, right? They are in local government, and we have political interests in Congress and other political areas. Of the political process, right? To where we have to be more effective in securing what Trump and his administration has attacked. So how can we protect our gains from these attacks? Think about that. Get involved. Do something about it. You know what I'm saying? That's what my channel is here for. It's about activism of positive change. You know what I'm saying? It's about serving a good purpose to empower us through our minds being awakened with knowledge. For instance, right? Since they could not vote, they could not serve on local juries, right? During this period, the white-dominated Democratic Party maintained political control of the South. Now, during the climate of the South at that time, regarding this particular Democratic political control, right? Them was racist as hell Democrats. Now, the history of the Democrats got a history where they was working hand in hand with the racist forces. But a certain transformation later on in history where the Democratic Party wasn't so wicked as them, where the record would show that they have, that blacks have become Democrats at a certain era of time where the Democratic Party actually helped our people with civil rights gains in ways the Republican Party never did. Right? Now, look at this right here. During the period, right? During this period, the white-dominated Democratic Party maintained political control of the South, with whites controlling all the seats representing the total population of the South. Now think about that. Is the Trump administration trying to get in seats of government, right, where whites controlling all the seats representing the total populations of certain areas in the United States of America, appealing to the whites for white power? Think about that. For white power. To try to control all the seats representing the total population. Now, white people don't represent the total population of the United States of America. Even us as black people don't represent the total population of the United States of America. Or the Mexican population don't represent the total population of the United States of America. The American people represent the total population of the United States of America. That's why, in regards of this about this being a melting pot or a country that's supposed to be multicultural or into multiculturalism, right? Yet we see the hostility and the antagonism against the diversity perpetrated by uptight white people who feel some type of way or a certain type of way about the blackening of America. That, for instance, right? Us representing the total population. That's why we see so much what they call schooled intelligence, fake news, put out there by disinformation experts who put information out here to trigger confusion in the minds of the people. Like, for instance, right, I seen a program on YouTube talking about how you got a certain woman who represents the intelligence community of certain sectors of our American government who have dug up certain information where they have dug up certain information that what you call that the information, what's the word I'm looking for, that like when somebody is, okay, she dug up certain information that implicated Barack Obama. What's her name? Tulsi Gabbard, right? Gabbard, to where she representing the MAGA movement, but it's the same lady who Trump put on blast, like information that she had out of the intelligence community regarding the nuclear arsenal of Iran, right? Where she informed Trump that they didn't have the certain weapons of mass destruction over there in Iran that Trump them thought the Iranians had when they went over there and bombed the area. Trump like waved her off like she don't know what she talking about. You know what I'm saying? It is over there, right? And kind of find out when they did what they did after they did, it wasn't what they thought it was. So she was right. Now here it is. Trump turned right around and started glorifying her. Oh, she's such a darling. Oh, she's such a great job in intelligence. After, you know what I'm saying? He dogged her in a certain way in the public media by, like, what you call it, castigate or repudiating or what you call that, or by like the information she gave him as an intelligence advisor for him to have intel about the Iranian uranium developments or whatever they for the bombs they supposed to have been developing over there. She gave correct what's considered intel on it. Yet he made it look like she ain't know what the hell she was talking about. But turned right around where she got some information that is supposed to involve Barack Obama in some kind of scandal where supposedly Obama done got arrested. That's fucking fake news. That's fake AI news that they putting out here. That people still be eating up. You know what I'm saying? And spreading fake news. So what all of a sudden they got against our brother Obama, who was one of the look. Oh, come on, man. We hating on Obama. No, good and well. Obama, yo, the best president we ever had. And they trying to smear his positive highlights of his presidency to where Trump trying to steal, you know what I'm saying, from the positive highlights of his legacy, trying to make it seem like Donald Trump is such a good president to where he deserved what they call it, to where he deserved, what you call that, award for people who was about peace, the Nobel Peace Prize. I know y'all laughing on that one. You know what I'm saying? He been nominated to get the Nobel Peace Prize 3 times. And how is that when that's full of contradictions of him stirring up all kind of hell, lies, even backstabbing the Martin Luther King dream. Man, listen. That's a house of cards, man. That it appears like it's a certain amount of time where it's gonna blow over for good representation of our country to come to power. You know what I'm saying? Because these people, you know what I'm saying, mix truth with lies, but what they really is doing to the minds of the Americans is lying to the Americans. So when we do our own comparative studies and researches from the information highway or what we Google or research for ourselves, we got to be independent thinkers and compare that knowledge. Be like, wait a minute, I'm looking at this so-called representative of mine or ambassador or whatever intelligence community title that these oath takers have. You know what I'm saying? Do they really have our best interests at heart? Because it appears that there are hypocrisy going on because of the lies that's being told by these lying machines. You know what I'm saying? Who is expecting the people to like them despite their lives. That's irresponsible of the American people to just go along with a fantasy world that ain't got nothing to do with the reality world. This continues to read regarding reality world. Now, watch us. We finna go back into we finna go into this reality world here. This is a channel about the world of reality. That's why when I say I am a Nubian winner, I am a new being who is a winner, right? That's in tune with the frequency of what's right to do. You have to want that for yourself and remember the purity in which you was created in as a star seed of the cosmos. You know what I'm saying? We beyond this matrix of this planet. We are in this world, but we are not of it. But we're here to know what's going on, to make a positive impact through cerebral understanding of things. For instance, right? Back to life. Remember the song Soul to Soul? Back to life, back to reality. That's what we sing in reality. But yet, it's always some kind of trick knowledge of the devil who want to get you into a position to where your mind is polarized from reality. No, we want to be in tune with reality, and we're going to stay there. Man, listen to this line of reasoning about the real history of the world in reality that we actually went through and still fighting against these particular kind of forces with this current Trump administration. Check this out, right? Okay, now, during this period, the white-dominated Democratic Party maintained political control of the South, with whites controlling all the seats representing the total population of the South. They had a powerful voting bloc in Congress. See, that's what we want. A powerful voting bloc in Congress is black people, right? The Republican Party, right? The party of Lincoln, and the party to which most blacks belong shrunk to insignificance, except in remote unionist areas of Appalachia and the Ozarks, as black voter registration was suppressed. See, there we go again. These forces want to attack your ability and power to be registered to vote, or to disconnect you from registering to vote, or to interfere or repress you from participating in the voting process from the Voting Rights Act, which gives us the ability to participate in halls of power that certain forces try to keep us out of. No, we will participate to get proper representation for us, to where we will care for our rights, human rights, and well-beings, not only for us, but for the collective of the people, we the people. Now, for instance, right, the Republican Lily White movement, ain't that what Trump trying to do now? Make his movement lily white? Where is blacks in his cabinet? Dealing with the diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? In regarding the black workers of the federal government that he affected in a not good way. Regarding people getting laid off from their jobs, you know what I'm saying? And the removal of black generals, renaming Navy ships, renaming certain locations that had black freedom fighters on it, or black civil rights accomplished members' names on it, to replace it with racist Confederate soldier names of the South that was about slavery and segregation and discrimination. Ain't that shit crazy? How's the country moving forward like that? He trying to make those stupid, injurious social ills retroactive. No, we will not go back to that madness, which goes to show you Donald Trump mind is out of date. You know what I'm saying? You wonder why the Tesla got separated from him. And most certainly, Panabab Yanun, the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York, mind is way advanced in Donald Trump's mind. So when we bring the master teacher to the picture, or when we bring him to the table, or when we bring him to in the conversation on this camera, him right there, Dr. Malachi, our beautiful master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York. Let's go deep. We gonna go deep to the maximum. You know what I'm saying? For the permutation of the human species, man. We here to do a great work on this planet as seeds of the Most High. You know what I'm saying? That's blossoming and blooming through intellect, from the outellect, from the out formation being converted to information channeled through us as vessels of the Most High. You know what I'm saying? But you got these beings of the amber light, the impure amber light, that work in service of them satanic forces, right? As vessels of negativity and chaos and confusion, right? Who made evil fair seeming, but evil is not fair seeming. That evil is wrong. So we separate ourselves from the unclean things of the world, right? And get in tune with the cycle of rightness, doing things right. That's why we represent right knowledge, sound right reason. Like when y'all listen to the logic that I'm conveying, it only sound right. It makes some kind of sense. I don't know everything, but I'm trying to, let this make sense, what we dealing with. Now look what they doing in the current Trump administration. Let's keep going into the reality of things. The Republican Party, the party of Lincoln, right? Wait a minute. The Republican Lily White movement also gained strength. Now what about us gaining strength from what we trying to do, right? The Republican Lily White movement also gained strength by excluding blacks. So, if we gain strength and unite as a people and gain strength by excluding white people out of our political process or what we doing, right? We will gain strength. We will become stronger that way, right? But let them tell it, let them practice what they practicing. The Republican Lily White movement also gained strength by excluding blacks. So by excluding us out of the political controls, right, of the political process that made them stronger. But yet when we come together and do things, they call it reverse racism. See the tricks to make us weak? You know what I'm saying? See the tricks to make us weak instead of strong? We about being strong, but see, that's the wrong motive though. See, I mean, okay, some say, they doing this out of surviving. Wait a minute. We all gotta survive as a people. We all gotta survive as a people. The human family have to survive. But let them tell it, they survive. It appears from a racist angle. You know what I'm saying? But yet, as far as us being excluded and disunited and divided, beneficial for them in their eyes, and a base of good economics. Because what do we do with our money? We still spend it with them, but yet in this market economy, why don't they spend their money with us like we spend our money with them? Look at that picture. Moving on. Okay, now, for instance, right? Now we know this truth that I'm talking about ain't got nothing to do with racism. We not being vulgar in any way. We're just talking about the truth and reality of how things actually really is. That where we can implement realistic changes without being, realistic changes free from the lies and exploitation. For instance, right? Let's go in here again. The Republican Lily White movement also gained strength by excluding blacks. Until 1965, the Solid South was a one-party system under the white Democrats, accepting the previously noted historic unionist strongholds. The Democratic Party nominations was tantamount to election for state and local office. In 1901, President Theodore Roosevelt invited Booker T. Washington, president of the Tuskegee Institute, to dine at the White House, making him the first African American to attend an official dinner there. Right? The invitation was roundly criticized by Southern politicians and newspapers. Washington persuaded the president to appoint more blacks to federal posts in the South and to try to boost African American leadership in state Republican organizations. However, these actions were resisted by both white Democrats and white Republicans as an unwanted federal intrusion into state politics. During the same time as African Americans were being disenfranchised, white Southerners imposed racial segregation by law. Look, white Southerners in a racist South, right? White Southerners imposed racial segregation by law. It was legal for them to segregate us. So, in light of them changing the laws of our country when they feel like it, they can do it. Think about that. So they just change things in ways that seeks to secure the safety of what they got, right? After victimizing the people that they victimized, right? They created laws to protect them from the people that they victimized. Now, look at this stuff. Look at this. Let's go deep. Violence against blacks increased with numerous lynchings through the turn of the century. The system of de jure state-sanctioned racial discrimination and oppression that emerged from the post-Reconstruction South became known as Jim Crow system. The United States Supreme Court made a up almost entirely of Northerners, upheld the constitutionality of those state laws that required racial segregation in public facilities in 1896 decision Plessy vs. Ferguson, legitimizing them through the separate but equal doctrine. Segregation, which began with slavery, continued with Jim Crow laws, with signs used to show blacks where they would legally walk, talk, drink, rest, and eat. For those places that were racially mixed, non-whites had to wait until all white customers were served first. Now look at today's climate of the societal picture that don't have the Jim Crow laws of the Jim Crow era back then. But guess what? That craziness is what Trump trying to have retroactive. That's motherfucker. Look, man, don't listen. That guy Trump is something inside him that is tied to the spirit of them racist Southerners of back then. Think about it. Something in his spirit is tied to those racist Southerners of back then during those Jim Crow eras. Look at this. Segregation, which began with slavery, continued with Jim Crow laws with signs used to show blacks where they could legally walk, talk, drink, rest, or eat. For those places that were racially mixed, non-whites had to wait until all white customers were served first. Elected in 1912, President Woodrow Wilson gave in to demands by Southern members of his cabinet who ordered segregation of workplaces in the federal government. Look, elected in 1912, President Woodrow Wilson gave in to demands by Southern members of his cabinet, right? And Woodrow Wilson, who ordered segregation of workplaces in the federal government. He was racist too, Woodrow Wilson, that president. Now look. Now back then, like that historical lynching victim they called Will Brown, who was mutilated and burned during the Omaha, Nebraska race riot in 1919. And that's on they got postcard photographs of that, of lynchings were popular souvenirs in the United States. Souvenirs? What kind of mentality is that in terms of them type of images being souvenirs? Look, that's why the history of these racist people, right? The scriptures define them as beasts in human form. It's in the Bible. The Bible describes certain description and characteristics of certain human beings on the earth, to where human beings on the earth have angelic traits, godly traits, or traits of animals and beasts and demons, unclean spirits, and devils. You know what I'm saying? Period. So, knowing these realities about human characteristics that can be housed in people, where people become vessels of certain spirit forces, right? It is what it is. Good for you if you have a third eye vision, third eye activation that enable you to see through the technology, or that enable you to see into the spirit realm where other people can't see. That's your blessing. That's your benefit, or that's our blessing and benefit for us to be considered ones who can see for a reason. What is the reason for seeing this? What other people can't see or don't see. Food for thought. Now, for instance, right? The early 20th century is a period often referred to as the nadir of American race relations, when the number of lynchings was highest, while tensions and civil rights violations were most intense. In the South, social discrimination affected African Americans in other regions as well. At the national level, the Southern Bloc controls important committees in Congress, defeated passage of federal laws against lynching. Now, and exercised considerable power behind the number of whites in the South. I'm gonna read that again, right? That's really interesting. While tensions and civil rights violations were most intense in the South, social discrimination affected African Americans in other regions as well. At the national level, all over the country, right? The national level, the Southern Bloc controlled important committees in Congress, defeated passage of federal laws against lynching, and exercised considerable power beyond the number of whites in the South. Characteristics of the post-Reconstruction period, right? Racial segregation. By law, public facilities and government services such as education were divided into separate white-colored domains. Characteristically, those for color were underfunded and of inferior quality. Like, say for instance, the black community that have ills in the community, and certain local governments know about certain unfunded programs dealing with the welfare of the black community, where our local representation, state representation, and federal representation, right, should allocate resources to us where we would be funded in ways to where we won't have, where we will have superior quality equipment and supplies and resources for our housing and livelihood and educational systems, political endeavors. You know what I'm saying? But look at the differences of what we go through in comparison to well-funded white communities where certain white upper class or class of people have access to jobs. Like I used to wonder a lot of times, like when I used to always see like construction workers and stuff like that, right? I just see like all these white people with the jobs. You know, where's our people? You know what I'm saying? It's like certain contract discrimination. You know what I'm saying? Given to certain companies to get contracts to do certain construction work, excluding the blacks from the contracts to get the work, to get to the money. You know what I'm saying? It's just endless the things we can communicate about, which is something I'm not complaining about. You know what I'm saying? Because I do the knowledge anyway. You know what I'm saying? But for instance, this goes on to communicate disenfranchisement when white Democrats regain power, right? They passed laws that made voter registration more restrictive, which is like a tactic the Trump administration trying to manipulate minds. With their redistricting efforts, you know what I'm saying, trying to play games with the numbers of our voting power capabilities by us waking up to our voting power. I think they like, we doing something. We know they finna get out and vote to get us up out of there, to get us up out of the current seats of power. They want some very good representation up in there. Yeah, we do. Disenfranchisement when white Democrats regain power, they passed laws that made voter registration more restrictive, essentially forcing black voters off the voting rolls. The number of African American voters dropped dramatically, and they were no longer able to elect representatives. See, that's what they don't want. Is they don't want us to get elected representatives. We vote in office to represent our interests. This is very important. This is very important and serious. We gotta get the right representation in there for us to represent our total population. We need this. We need that, right? From 1890 to 1908, right? Southern states of the former Confederacy created constitutions with provisions that disenfranchised tens of thousands of African Americans, and U.S. states such as Alabama disenfranchised poor whites as well. Now here's the exploitation, or here come the exploitation. You know what I'm saying? All these other like areas of accumulating power. In these areas of power, they excluded us from them areas of power, dealing with the racial segregation, the disenfranchisement, and the exploitation economically, the money picture, the financial picture, the organized picture of a workable economy to keep us well fed. well taken care of with no worries. For instance, exploitation, increased economic oppression of blacks through the convict lease system, denial of economic opportunities, and widespread unemployment discrimination. That was done by design and on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Why they don't want us to shine? You know what I'm saying? We don't care about people shining. You know what I'm saying? We shine as by nature. Look at our Kemetic ancestors. How we value the gold as the golden race of this planet. It's in our bloodline. You know what I'm saying? To reflect riches. But everybody don't think like us because they not like us. In fact, they jealous of us in ways to where the master teacher took us into the deep histories about how this thing go back. This thing goes so far back to ancient times where we dealing with what's called an ancient jealousy of us. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, we don't care about that. That's not our mentality. Behind the hell is that a mentality of the black community to where blacks be jealous of each other when brothers be shining when that's really in our DNA. But as a result of the colonialism that messed a lot of our people's heads up, a lot of our people have psychological traits of the ones who had the ancient jealousy of us. That's where they get that bullshit from. You know what I'm saying? But we do feel some type of way about the inequality of things when it comes to having the best in civilized society, because it's conspicuous, it's readily noticeable. It's readily noticeable the evil that is being intimated by the racist power structure. For instance, the exploitation, increased economic oppression of blacks through the convict lease system, denial of economic opportunities, and widespread employment discrimination, which explains the unemployment or underemployment when we are considered to pull ourselves up from our own bootstraps with no kind of support and help after all the building our ancestors did for this nation that deserves reparations too, to the point where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, how many states he was talking about appealing to the United States government to give us to develop for like 25 years. It's a lot of stuff that can be solutions to our problems that they still haven't put their best foot forward to do. So what are they really trying to do? Keep us down? Black America? No. We are prophesied to rise. So it's certain things done out here socially to try to interfere with our rise. But it won't work. We are progressing. You know what I'm saying? Now, in addition to the exploitation, right? Here comes the violence. Individual violence. Police violence. Paramilitary violence. Organizational violence. And mob racial violence against blacks. African Americans rejected this regime. So when it comes to us organizing with an organized resistance against these character defects of social injustice, we justifiable in our efforts to get rid of that, which is sensible. So you mean to tell me, here it is, we fighting against this madness, and then you want to turn around and say, they violent. See the sick minds and games these people play. You know what I'm saying? But yet they don't supposed to be having these sick minds. But the way they think like that, they show that they trying to play some kind of mind trick over us to make us seem like we doing something wrong for defending ourselves in self-defense against unjust attacks of all of this madness. You know what I'm saying? The disenfranchisement, the racial segregation, exploitation, discrimination, and violence, police brutality. You know what I'm saying? Paramilitary violence, organizational violence, mob violence, lynchings. You know what I'm saying? The criminality. No, that is not who we are. That's what they projected on us. And as a victim of circumstance, here we are dealing with these black dilemmas to where we have to be cleansed of all of this dross that was put on us spiritually, socially, regarding the aftermath of the slavery condition. And wonder why so much mental illness and mental challenges. And it's still certain scarce resources in place to effectively help our people transform out of that. This like we at a point where it's survival of the fittest. This is a do-it-yourself program to get yourself fit for survival. Like when they talk about the survival of the fittest. That's true on a lot of levels. You gotta help yourself. It's a term, like the master teacher say, the helping hand that you're looking for. The helping hand that you're looking for is at the end of your arm. At the end of your arm, you listening to this, it's the helping hand you looking for. You got so many haters out here. You know what I'm saying? They ain't trying to help you with nothing in terms of being successful. Like they say, certain people want to see you doing good but not better than them. Listen to that bullshit. Such and such. Oh yeah, people, you know what I'm saying? They want to see you doing good, but they don't want to see you doing better than them. Man, fuck that. Put me around smart people. You know what I'm saying? Where I can eventually end up being better myself to just be a better person, period. You know what I'm saying? And it's like we have examples who show us the light to how to do things right. Society will collapse if it wasn't for the light. How do you think we civilized the Caucasians? You know what I'm saying? By bringing them the light of civilization. But at a certain point in history, look how we failed. This is a serious world, man. know what I'm saying? This is a serious world, and we gotta learn from what's going on to better ourselves for a bright future with the light. Now, for instance, right? African Americans, we rejected that regime or this regime, or even this current racist regime. We reject that madness they doing with them negative anti-black executive orders that Trump had pushed with favor of our Supreme Court judges, 6 of them to number, including how should I put it? A non-thinking person on that Supreme Court judge constituency that look like us, but not us, but not of us. His mentality is of the Trump administration, which is unbelievable. You know what I'm saying? It's this book called The American Directory of Certified Uncle Toms. Get the book and do the knowledge on the book. Because it was an African proverb I remember in that book when it was talking about picture, like use your imagination right now, right? Picture of forest, of the Amazon forest, or a forest of many trees, where the forest said to the X, the handle is one of us. Look what the handle is doing for the X. Cutting down our family trees, or our next to kin, or our friends and relatives who is like us, made of this wood. Look what the wooden handle is doing, taking part in the axe to cut us down. The handle is one of us. Look what the handle was doing against its own people, participating to cut us down with the axe, which is what some of our people have been doing with white supremacy. These black people who look like us, but they are not us. This is a hell of a thing we dealing with in this world, which is sick. So, what cures of these sicknesses can we come up with? Is what we are trying to do with these logical, logistical communications, with this computational awareness and analysis of information and data. Oh, you trying to use big words. See how motherfuckers be thinking? Sick, low down, and stupid. Like, you don't even pose to conceive of articulating words with certain linguistics, with linguistic terminology. When the powers that be, all they do is utilize certain linguistics. You know what I'm saying? To paint a certain picture to become reality. And for these motherfuckers, they be talking about, he be trying to use big words, or he trying to sound white using big words, or he trying to sound like this, or he trying to sound like that using them big long words. And let me tell you something. To think indeed is a gift. If you don't know how to use your mind, somebody else will. Which is exactly why y'all talk that way, because y'all is under the influence of demon possession, of psychological strategists who don't want y'all using y'all brain on an analytical level to change out of the matrix that they put y'all in. Think about that. What in a matrix? Yeah, a matrix of control that's connected to what's called the mother of illusions. They say, our people perish for the lack of knowledge. Look at it. That is a proverbial statement that hold true to this day. A lot of them proverbs in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Look. The reality is this, right? This goes on to read. Let's get back into reality. African Americans rejected this regime. They resisted it in numbers, in numerous ways, many ways, like we doing now. Resisting this madness they trying to push on us. We ain't going for it. They resisted it in numerous ways and sought better opportunities through lawsuits, new organizations forming, political redress, and labor organizations. See the civil rights movement from 1896 to 1954. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, right, was founded in 1909. Now this stuff going, this dealing with centuries of political fighting. It fought to end racial discrimination through litigation, education, and when the Supreme Court ruled that segregation of public schools in the United States was unconstitutional, and by implication overturned the separate but equal doctrine. Got rid of that madness. Established in Plessy versus Ferguson of 1896, following the unanimous Supreme Court ruling, many states began to gradually integrate their schools, but some areas of the South resisted by closing public schools altogether. They closed all their schools so don't nobody learn. Look how stupid that was. See how ignorant motherfuckers can be out here? You know what I'm saying? So, for instance, right? The integration issue, right? Like when Martin Luther King made the statement, like if he made a mistake speaking about like the integration issue where he hope or something to that degree that he not integrating his people into a burning house. Then we have the messenger of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad speak about the fall of America, where the cover of the book show America being engulfed in flames, a burning house. So for us that separate ourselves from the unclean things of the world, you know what I'm saying? We don't want to be in the judgment of that particular kind of judgment of America ending up being engulfed in flames as a result, you know what I'm saying, of us ending up being into a burning house. If the house is burning for you so-called smart, intelligent leaders out here, who act like y'all scared to look at what the messenger brought for us as a sign. And you know what they say about signs? Warning come before destruction. You know what I'm saying? Is destruction coming because motherfuckers ain't paying attention to the warning signs? But yet we here. So, like they were saying, if a judgment is taking place right now to the point where we still here, why am I here talking to y'all with this transmission right now? Shouldn't I be somewhere else in a safe zone to escape to escape what's said to happen in the future? As like a weather forecast to make preparations, or like Farrakhan said, can America avert this particular judgment through the right treatment of us? Yes. So that appears to be the only option for white America, is to get their mind right. Even Satan, the Messiah of the scriptures, told Satan, where Satan trying to offer, for the sake of the truth of Christianity, the true teachings of Yahshua of the scriptures, right? Where Satan tempted Yahshua, I will give you all this if you bow down to me. You know what I'm saying? To where the Messiah rejected that offer, like a lot of us people of the Most High Creator, right? We reject those same offers, to where we make the statement, get thee behind me, Satan, the evil one. I seek the protection of the Most High from Satan, the rejected enemy. Right? To the point where even Satan himself shall bow down and worship the Most High. Which is white America's only option, to bow down and worship the Most High. I ain't talking about that fake, evil, lying, Christian, white nationalist tricknology. That's not the real theology of real Christianity. That is a pompous, pretentious political movement that's connected with certain paramilitary connections, you know what I'm saying, that pride themselves, you know what I'm saying, with what they call proud individuals. That's what y'all proud of? Y'all need a reality check about the real Messiah. Like I said, the only hope for white America regarding this judgment is to have it can be averted through the proper treatment of y'all doing right by us and being in alignment with the truth, because y'all shall bow down and worship the real Creator. That we are direct descendants of as black people. Right? With that said, I'm gonna go over here, I'll be right back. I'm back, right? Now, regarding the reality of this spiritual war, you know what I'm saying, this psychological warfare that's going on, the spiritual warfare that's going on, the political warfare that's going on. It's all kind of angles of war that's being fought as we speak. You know what I'm saying? To the point where it's just a matter of us, you know what I'm saying, having the thirst for knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And being inquisitive enough to know certain things. Because when it comes to a matter of life and death, indeed, that is a serious frequency here. You know what I'm saying? So, to resume, right, what we're dealing with in terms of God's chosen people, right? Does that make other people feel like they not chosen? Or they feel rejected by God to the point where they feel mad at God because of that? You know what I'm saying? To the point where I said what I said about white America treating us better and us treating ourselves better, right? Because regarding the bigger picture of human rights, we all deserve to experience heaven on earth while we live. For instance, regarding the national issues, the situation for blacks outside the South was somewhat better. In most states, they could vote and have their children educated, though they still face discrimination in housing and jobs. In 1900, Reverend Matthew Anderson, speaking at the annual Hampton Negro Conference in Virginia, said that the lines along most of the avenues of wage earning are more rigidly drawn in the North than in the South. There seems to be an apparent effort throughout the North, especially in the cities, to debar the colored worker from all the avenues of higher remunerative labor. That's a new word to me right there. Remunerative labor, which makes it more difficult to improve this economic condition even then in the South. From 1910 to 1970, blacks sought better lives by migrating north and west out of the South. A total of nearly 7 million blacks left the South in what was known as the Great Migration, most during and after the World War II. So many people migrated that the demographics of some previously black majority states changed to a white majority in combination with other developments. The rapid influx of blacks altered the demographics of northern and western cities, happening at a period of expanded European, Hispanic, and Asian immigration. It added to social competition and tensions. See? That's what we're dealing with, social competitions and tensions. With the new migrants and immigrants battling for a place in jobs and housing. That's what we facing today. See, we've been here. indigenous to America. This is our land. In addition to other land masses, we'll get into that at another time. But specifically, all these immigrants over here, they dealing with competing for jobs. They dealing with competing for the resources of our American government. Period. All of them. Like the rapid influx, right? The rapid influx of these immigrants, right? Battling for a place in jobs and housing. So, what are the positive highlights of the Trump administration, where he is doing some good things on behalf of America? It appears logical that I would agree with the what's considered illegal immigration. You know what I'm saying? Where they doing what they doing. You know what I'm saying? To deport people out of here that's here illegally or with expired visas or what have you. However that process go with that. You know what I'm saying? If individuals is here illegally, then that's justifiable. Okay? So I'm going to give Trump credit where credit is due, but at the same time, Trump and his administration isn't above criticism, especially as a result of doing dangerous things against the black community, with attacking our civil rights gains. That's a no-no, hands off of that. That can't be allowed. But we see, look, say for instance, right? I'm not trying to be funny, you know what I'm saying? But every time when they deal with the immigration issue, you know what I'm saying? They not talking about us. I came up with the term, kidnappers. You know what I'm saying? We kidnappers. You know what I'm saying? To the point where our situation is different as a result of the Black Holocaust. Which is a horror story. A horror story that they don't want to look at and deal with. That's why they're trying to get rid of critical race theory and all this American history that I'm making sense of about through these issues, this information that I'm sharing, right? It's American history. Black history is American history. You can try to sweep it under the rug, right? Because you don't want it to expose y'all negative characteristics behind all the positive images that y'all try to glorify about y'all selves. You know what I'm saying? We all have good in human beings. We look for the good in human beings. But at the same time, right, you conspicuously being evil and tricky and snakish and slick, you know what I'm saying? There's more to you than just you consistently trying to stay righteous. For instance, right, the influx of these immigrants, right, battling for a place in jobs and housing here. at these people. Look at what they doing. Right? Why so many forces trying to immigrate here? Like America is a country of immigrants. What about the people who are indigenous to this land? You know what I'm saying? The indigenous people to this land. And these immigrants, how is they educated about the respect for the indigenous people of this land and how they look at us as black people, you know what I'm saying, who this land belongs to as well. It gets deep when you look at it. So these foreigners coming here is in competition with you and me for housing and jobs and economic opportunities. That's what they here for. Like they say, they here for a better life from where they came from. So if they immigrate here to have a better life, right? What about the life we already living here without immigrating here? We indigenously born here. So they escaping harsh conditions to come here to live a better life, to be in competition with us who've been here all our lives and catching hell. What kind of motherfucking bullshit is that? Look at that. Look at that. Something is supremely super duper wrong with that picture. Then they got a nerve to talk shit about us. Like, oh, y'all lazy, this, that, and the third. You know, y'all been here all that time, don't got nothing to show for it. We got plenty to show for. Everything you benefit from, we built, motherfucker. Don't get it twisted. And the mind games that they play, like we shifters, no, they played a heck of a game to where we've been marginalized. That's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put forth the program, what we want, even though specifically it say what Muslims want. Black people, period, is black people. Regarding what we want in the best of civilized society. Our nature, yeah, is indeed our nature. But yet, regarding the jobs and the housing that we entitled to here domestically in America as indigenously born here. You know what I'm saying? We are to get fair treatment for real. But yet, big game though. These immigrants battling for a place in the jobs and housing. So, do they consciously know that they compete against us for jobs and housing? When Trump was like, yeah, black people, they taking y'all jobs, this, that, and the third. Where he getting rid of them to secure jobs for us, the Trump administration, and housing. Moving on. Now, it's you know what, with that said, I'm gonna conclude this transmission, right? Well, we will resume with part 3 to this winning power perspective of things. Positive energy, activate constant elevation to my people, peace, love, and life. And we are to have friendships in all walks of life, beyond the tensions, you know what I'm saying, that may, appear to be going on with all of these issues, where people is trying to have a better life, you know what I'm saying, out of these hostile circumstances, you know what I'm saying, what's going on in this volatile world where we, striving to have peace. So, peace, love, and light, you know what I'm saying, to everybody. And, like the good brother Lester Hoyt say, what did he say, you know what I'm saying? Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. One love, peace.